Hello everyone, and welcome to Espresso English. I'm David, your host, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Julia. How are you doing today, Julia?
Hi, David. I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to dive into today's episode. We've got a great topic lined up, and I can't wait to explore it with all of you.
Absolutely. For those of you joining us for the first time, Espresso English is your go-to podcast for quick, engaging discussions that not only help you improve your English, but also give you practical insights into interesting topics. And, just like a shot of espresso, we like to keep it strong, short, and full of energy.
Exactly. Today we're going to analyze a text about social media, its benefits, challenges, and how to handle it responsibly. It's a topic we all can relate to, and we'll break it down with clear explanations, useful phrases, and some practical advice.
So, grab your coffee, or tea if you prefer, and get ready to learn while having fun. Let's jump right into it.
Social media, benefits, challenges, and ways to mitigate its negative effects. Social media has become an integral part of modern life, revolutionizing the way people communicate, share information, and connect with others. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn have millions of users, making them influential forces in shaping society, culture, and even economies. While the benefits of social media are undeniable, it also comes with challenges that require careful management. This article explores the advantages, challenges, and strategies to mitigate the negative effects of social media.
Welcome back to Espresso English, everyone. Today, we're diving into a fascinating text titled Social Media, Benefits, Challenges, and Ways to Mitigate its Negative Effects. Julia, let's break this one down, starting with the opening lines. What do you think about this introduction?
Thanks, David. The introduction does an excellent job of setting the stage. Right from the start, it highlights how social media has become an integral part of our lives. The word integral here is key. It means something essential or fundamental. The author is saying that social media isn't just an optional tool anymore. It's something we rely on heavily in our daily lives.
Absolutely. And the next phrase caught my eye. Social media has revolutionized the way people communicate, share information, and connect with others. What's your take on the use of the word revolutionized?
Great question. Revolutionized suggests a dramatic or fundamental change. It implies that social media hasn't just improved communication, it's completely transformed how we interact on a global scale. And when the text mentions platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, it really drives home how influential these tools are. Speaking of which, David, why don't we break down the word influential?
Of course. Influential refers to having the power to affect people, ideas, or decisions. In this context, the author is pointing out that social media platforms shape not just our personal lives, but also society, culture, and even economies. That's a lot of power packed into a single idea.
Exactly, and that's why the text smoothly transitions to addressing the challenges. The author mentions strategies to mitigate the negative effects of social media. This word, mitigate, is particularly important. It means to reduce or lessen the severity of something. So, the text acknowledges that while social media is powerful and beneficial, we need to manage its downsides carefully.
Great explanation. So far, the introduction strikes a balance. It appreciates the benefits but doesn't shy away from addressing the challenges, which makes it a well-rounded approach. Julia, if you were to summarize the tone of this section, what would you say?
I'd call it analytical yet approachable. The author sets the stage for an in-depth discussion while keeping the language clear and direct, which is perfect for learners. And the vocabulary, words like integral, influential, and mitigate, are not only advanced, but also incredibly useful in everyday and professional conversations.
Absolutely. And that's why we encourage our listeners to jot down these words and practice them. Try using mitigate in a sentence like, I mitigated my stress by taking a walk. Or influential, as in, that book was highly influential in my career. Julia, What's one tip for mastering vocabulary like this?
Practice makes perfect. Use these words in context as often as you can. For example, write about how social media is an integral part of your routine, or discuss an influential figure in your life. That's how you make the words stick.
Brilliant advice, Julia. And on that note, let's continue exploring the rest of the text and uncover more insights. Stay tuned, everyone.
Benefits of social media. 1. Connecting people. Worldwide social media bridges geographical gaps, allowing individuals to stay in touch with family, friends, and colleagues regardless of location. It enables users to participate in global conversations and foster connections that were previously impossible. 2. Information sharing and education. Social media is a powerful tool for accessing information. Educational institutions, professionals, and organizations use these platforms to share knowledge, tutorials, and resources. Platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn are particularly valuable for e-learning and career development.
Okay, Julia, let's dive deeper into this introduction as professional analysts. The text really sets the stage for an informed discussion. For example, it positions social media as both an essential tool, what it calls an integral part of life, and a source of significant influence. That's a loaded statement. What's your analysis of this positioning?
Absolutely, David. It's a deliberate choice. By calling social media integral, the author frames it as indispensable. That word carries weight. It tells us this isn't just a convenience, it's woven into our daily routines. On the other hand, describing platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn as influential acknowledges their power to shape behavior, trends, and even economies. But notice how the tone isn't alarmist. It's balanced, focusing equally on benefits and challenges. This neutrality is crucial in an analytical discussion.
Good point, Julia. I also noticed the use of the word mitigate when referring to the challenges. From an analytical perspective, this shows the text isn't about dismissing social media or demonizing it. Instead, it's about strategic management. It suggests that the problem isn't the existence of social media, but how we use it. That's a nuanced take.
Exactly. And I think the mention of platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn as examples is strategic too. Each represents a different audience and purpose, from casual interaction to professional networking. This diversity highlights the broad impact of social media, which is why it requires careful analysis. Shall we move on to the next section?
Yes. Let's listen to the next part, where the text talks about the benefits of social media. Julia, hit us with the first point.
All right, here's the first benefit: connecting people worldwide. The text highlights how social media bridges geographical gaps, making the world feel smaller and more connected. David, from an analytical standpoint, why do you think this benefit is so impactful?
Great question. I'd say this is foundational. Before social media, staying connected across continents required significant effort: letters, expensive phone calls, or even in-person visits. But now, social media has democratized communication. Whether through a quick Instagram DM or a Zoom call, people can maintain relationships effortlessly, breaking barriers like distance and time zones. And the phrase global conversations is interesting. It suggests inclusivity, a kind of universal town square where everyone can have a voice.
Absolutely, David, and that inclusivity is powerful. Think about movements like the Me Too movement or global fundraising campaigns. They thrive on social media because it connects individuals across the globe, fostering a sense of shared purpose. But there's a flip side too. With great connectivity comes great responsibility. Misuse, like spreading misinformation, can undermine this benefit. But let's move to the next point.
Good transition. The second benefit is information sharing and education. Social media is described as a powerful tool for accessing information. Julia, what's your take on this?
This is a game changer, David. Social media has shifted the educational landscape. Platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn aren't just for entertainment or networking, they're hubs for e-learning and career development. Take YouTube, for example. You can find tutorials on almost anything: coding, cooking, even advanced physics. LinkedIn, on the other hand, allows professionals to share insights and grow their networks. These platforms empower individuals to learn on their terms, often for free.
Exactly, Julia. And I'd argue this ties back to the word integral in the introduction. Social media has become essential, not just for social interaction, but as a tool for lifelong learning. However, there's a challenge here too. The abundance of information means learners need to discern credible sources from unreliable ones. But overall, this benefit is undeniable.
Totally agree, David. It's fascinating how social media has reshaped both personal and professional growth. Shall we continue to explore more insights from the text?
Absolutely. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back with more on the challenges and strategies to mitigate social media's negative effects. Don't go anywhere.
Three, business growth and marketing. Social media provides businesses with cost-effective marketing tools. Small and large enterprises use platforms to advertise their products, engage with customers, and analyze consumer behavior. Influencer marketing has also become a lucrative avenue for brand promotion. 4. Raising awareness. From social justice movements to environmental campaigns, social media amplifies voices and drives change. It has been instrumental in raising awareness about critical issues such as climate change, mental health, and equality. 5. Entertainment and creativity. Social media platforms offer endless entertainment through videos, memes, and creative content. TikTok and Instagram Reels, for example, encourage users to explore their artistic side, whether through photography, music, or storytelling.
Welcome back, everyone, to Espresso English. Let's dive deeper into the text. Julia, the next section highlights 3 key areas where social media has made a significant impact. Let's start with business growth and marketing. What's your take on how the author presented this idea?
David, this part is spot on in explaining how transformative social media has been for businesses. The author calls it cost-effective marketing tools, which is a fantastic way to frame it. Instead of spending millions on traditional advertising, companies, both big and small, can reach their target audience directly on platforms like Instagram or Facebook. What stood out to me is the mention of analyzing consumer behavior. Businesses aren't just promoting their products, they're gaining insights into what their customers want and need.
Exactly. And then there's influencer marketing, which has become a huge deal. Julia, would you agree that influencers have reshaped how brands connect with consumers?
Absolutely. Influencer marketing taps into trust. When an influencer endorses a product, it feels more authentic to their followers than traditional ads. It's why we see brands of all sizes investing heavily in this strategy. It's targeted, relatable, and most importantly, effective.
Well said. Let's move to the next part. Raising awareness. The author highlights how social media amplifies voices for critical issues. What's your analysis here?
This is one of my favorite aspects of social media. It has become a powerful tool for activism and awareness campaigns. From social justice movements to environmental campaigns, these platforms have given a voice to those who might otherwise go unheard. The text points out movements addressing climate change, mental health, and equality, which are all global issues. Social media turns awareness into action, whether it's signing petitions, donating to causes, or participating in events.
And that's a double-edged sword, right? While it's amazing for spreading awareness, it also brings challenges like misinformation. But we'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about entertainment and creativity. Julia, how do you see this aspect shaping our digital culture?
It's massive. Social media has democratized creativity. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels allow anyone to become a creator, whether they're sharing memes, videos, or artistic content. What I find fascinating is how these tools encourage people to explore their talents, be it photography, music, or storytelling. It's entertainment with a creative twist, which makes it so engaging for users.
Completely agree. Social media isn't just about scrolling endlessly. It's also about expressing yourself and connecting with others through that expression. Julia, would you say this section highlights a balance between fun and function?
Definitely. The author captures how social media is not only entertaining, but also empowers people to showcase their creativity. It's a blend of lighthearted content and deeper personal expression.
Great analysis, Julia. I think our listeners now have a better understanding of these 3 key benefits of social media. But there's more to uncover. Let's take a pause and dive into the next part. Stay tuned as we explore how to manage social media's challenges and harness its potential.
Challenges of social media. 1. Addiction and time management. Issues. Excessive use of social media can lead to addiction, consuming hours that could be spent on productive activities. Many users find themselves mindlessly scrolling, often without realizing how much time has passed. 2. Mental health concerns. The curated nature of social media often leads to comparison, which can negatively impact self-esteem and mental health. Studies have linked heavy social media use with anxiety, depression, and loneliness, especially among young people.
Welcome back, listeners. Now that we've dissected the introduction, let's step into the heart of the article: challenges of social media. This section starts with 2 key points: addiction and time management issues and mental health concerns. Julia, as a professional analyst, what do you make of these challenges?
David, these points are spot on and reflect some of the biggest societal issues today. Starting with addiction and time management, the text emphasizes how social media can become a black hole for time. The phrase mindlessly scrolling is particularly striking. It captures the passive, almost unconscious behavior of users. This isn't just about wasting time. It's about how addictive design features like infinite scrolling and notifications hijack our attention.
Absolutely. It's fascinating and alarming how these platforms are engineered to keep us engaged for as long as possible. They tap into our brain's reward system, releasing dopamine every time we get a like, comment, or notification. That's why people struggle to put their phones down. What strategies do you think could mitigate this issue, Julia?
Great question. Time-limiting apps, scheduled phone-free zones, and mindfulness practices can all help, but it requires conscious effort. Speaking of effort, let's look at the second point: mental health concerns. Here, the article hits a nerve. The phrase curated nature of social media is key. What the author means is that people only post their highlights, their best moments, making it easy for others to feel like they don't measure up.
Exactly. This phenomenon, often called compare and despair, is amplified by algorithms that prioritize perfect-looking content. It's no wonder studies link heavy social media use to anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Julia, how would you approach explaining this issue to learners?
I'd highlight that comparison isn't new, but social media intensifies it. For example, in the past, you might compare yourself to a few people in your immediate circle. Now, with platforms like Instagram, you're comparing yourself to curated images of thousands, even millions of people worldwide.
That's a great way to frame it. And this issue is particularly damaging for young people, as the text mentions. Adolescence is already a vulnerable time for self-esteem, and constant exposure to idealized images can be overwhelming. But it's not all bad. Awareness is the first step. Once we recognize these effects, we can take steps to counteract them, like following accounts that promote positivity and authenticity.
Exactly. And this ties back to the idea of balance. Social media is a tool, not a reality. If we learn to use it intentionally, we can reduce its negative effects. Speaking of intentional use, why don't we move on to the next part of the text and see how the author suggests dealing with these challenges?
Great idea. Let's take a moment to dive into the section on strategies to overcome these challenges. Stay tuned, everyone.
3. Misinformation and fake news. The rapid spread of misinformation is a significant concern. False news, rumors, and conspiracy theories can influence public opinion, create panic, and even incite violence. Fourth, privacy and security. Risks social media platforms collect vast amounts of personal data, raising concerns about privacy and cybersecurity. Unauthorized data breaches, phishing scams, and identity theft are growing problems. 5. Cyberbullying and harassment. Anonymity on social media often emboldens users to engage in toxic behavior. Cyberbullying, trolling, and harassment can have devastating effects on individuals, particularly teenagers. 6. Over-reliance on virtual interactions. While social media fosters connection, it can also reduce face-to-face interactions, weakening real-life relationships. People may prioritize their online personas over authentic connections.
Welcome back, everyone. We've just discussed the powerful impact of social media, both positive and negative. Now, let's analyze some of the challenges outlined in the next part of the text. Julia, what do you think about these points? They really dig into some of the most pressing concerns of the digital age.
Absolutely, David. Let's take these one at a time, starting with misinformation and fake news. As the text points out, the rapid spread of misinformation is a serious issue. From an analytical perspective, it's important to note how social media algorithms amplify this problem. Platforms prioritize engagement, and controversial or sensational content tends to attract more attention, even if it's false. This creates a cycle where misinformation spreads faster than verified facts.
Great point, Julia. The impact of this goes beyond just confusion. It can actually manipulate public opinion, stir panic, and in extreme cases, incite violence. It's a stark reminder of how influential and dangerous social media can be when misused. What's your take on the second challenge, privacy and security risks?
This one is huge, David. Social media platforms collect an incredible amount of personal data, often without users fully understanding how their information is being used. The text mentions unauthorized breaches and phishing scams, which are critical threats. But it's also about the ethical question of how companies monetize this data. For instance, targeted ads might seem harmless, but they rely on intrusive data mining, which raises serious privacy concerns.
Right. And as we've seen with high-profile data breaches, the consequences can be devastating, not just for individuals, but for companies and even governments. Now, let's move to cyberbullying and harassment. Julia, what stands out to you here?
This is one of the most damaging aspects of social media, David. The anonymity it offers can bring out the worst in people. As the text mentions, cyberbullying and trolling disproportionately affect teenagers, who are especially vulnerable to the psychological impact. Studies have shown links between online harassment and issues like anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. From a societal standpoint, this is an area where stronger regulations and platform accountability are desperately needed.
That's a tough but important point. It shows that while technology enables incredible connectivity, it also brings significant risks when misused. Lastly, we have over-reliance on virtual interactions. What's your take on this?
This one resonates on a deeply personal level for many of us, David. While social media is designed to foster connection, it can ironically isolate people. Users often focus more on curating their online personas than maintaining authentic relationships. Over time, this erodes real-life connections, leaving people feeling lonelier than ever, despite their digital friends list.
Exactly. It's almost a paradox. Social media connects us, yet it can leave us feeling disconnected. And that's why balance is key. Well, those are some heavy but important issues we've analyzed. What do you say, Julia? Should we move to the next part of the text?
Yes, let's do that. I'm curious to see how the text tackles the strategies for addressing these challenges. Everyone, stay with us. We'll dive into the solutions right after this.